So I guess if you had to like sum it up in 3 points, it's don't reinvent the wheel, find the most value, and 3, don't be stupid.
What do you think about Senior Verde? Who?
So I was looking over notes in our YouTube descriptions, which you can find us everywhere if you search SR Verde X, everything, all platforms. Especially you can watch our podcast, which you're watching us now. Thank you. So basically, I was kind of looking at your bio. S.E. Green, a.k.a. Senior Verde, is a carpenter who figured out how to borrow money, run a business, and deliver on the goods and services he said he could. After many years of scratching around in the real estate industry, parentheses, hacking, which I want to come back to that, and figuring out what suited him and or what best fit the market, he now currently runs a successful multi-million-dollar real estate development company and serves as CEO at 88 Realty, a comprehensive model real estate firm based in Texas. You're listening to Everything That I Know podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Whitley, here with the one, the only, that knows everything that Senior Verde knows. Senior Verde.
God almighty. You're never, ever going to do that and not like joke around, right? Which is awesome.
I was being serious.
Oh, my bad. Sorry about that. No, it's awesome. Yeah, we're here again. It's great to be back. You read that piece of a bio from either YouTube description or
yeah, that
the
was
website.
episode 12 in the descriptions.
Yeah, that's in there like every time. I think it's a repeat.
Yeah. So, hacking.
Yeah.
What do you mean by hacking?
Are you starting there or are you going to start at the top?
Well, I thought I would just get hacking out of the way because I didn't think it was going to take you that long to explain what hacking was unless you're a computer programmer. And if so, wow.
Yeah.
That's hack into the Federal Reserve System, and that's how I became a multimillionaire.
Hacking. So what is a hack? A hack is like, it's a life hack. It's a hack. You go, you find a way to improve on a system or a task or something like that. Like the protein bar from a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
My hack for that is to cut it up into pieces, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer, and then when I have a craving for a sweet, I take one little sliver of that protein bar out instead of eating, a Hershey's Kiss or a Snickers Mini or something like that, right?
Okay.
That's a hack. So in the real estate game, there are tons of hacks and things that I figured out on my own that were, little nuances of being a trade contractor, like a tradesman, a carpenter, right? Mm-hmm. And having some of those skill sets, I was able to bring some of those things to the table, literal physical hacks to make the end product that we were bringing to the marketplace better. And then I figured some ways around some of the challenges when it came to borrowing money, dealing with financial institutions and banks and things like that. And none of those are like, what would I like to say? How would I define?
Fun?
No. None of them are criminal or crooked or anything like that. They're all straight-laced. It was just knowing the banking system and or asking the right questions and getting the answers that allowed me to kind of go, well, if you could do it like that, why couldn't you do it like this? And they're like, well, I guess we could do that. I'm like, cool. That's a hack. Okay. Not following the norm.
But you weren't hacking the financial system.
That was not hacking.
Okay, just one disclaimer.
No, I'm sure I am not the cut from that cloth of the technical, get in there and do that kind of stuff.
I'm not either. I worked for a software company.
I can manipulate a PDF in an Excel spreadsheet, but now I'm not programming anything or jumping in anything. So that's what that means. Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess you do have your business cards around here. Real estate investment strategists.
There you go.
Who make strategies. I would think that would be. Yes. Okay. So I guess that's, tell me, what is that? Is this the first company you created?
No, that's probably, internally, that's probably the third one that I have total control over. That's not a partnership, something like that. That's the third iteration of a company. So that company is more like a holding company. All the assets that we put on the ground that we develop, whatever we do that we're going to keep, go into that entity. And so it's the, kind of the managing thing over all the real estate empire, if you will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you kind of want to have, if you're trying to get multiple sources of income, which I'm guessing is kind of the same thing. If you have multiple businesses going on, you kind of want one pool that everything goes into and feeds the others. Is that kind of what you're saying that kind of started as?
Yeah, sort of. So some companies are set up to produce, like take raw land, develop it, put things on the ground, make it work, and then other companies are just meant to hold some finished produced asset. That's what ETXPG is. And along with that, we have a development leg, inside our organization where we hire a general contractor through that entity to do all the work. Now, a lot of times the general contractor is another entity that we operate, but at the same time, they're completely operated separately and they're run separately, different books and all that stuff. The strategist part of it is saying, basically, we've been doing this a long time. There's more than one way to get it done. One size fits all in real estate investment doesn't work. And so we really will take people in and say, well, what do you want to do? And everybody says, well, I just want to make residual income and have cash flow. Really?
Right.
No, seriously. Like, do you have an aspiration to own a commercial space? Do you want to do residential? Do you single family, multifamily, high rise? I mean, what do you want? What do you see? Because everybody has kind of a vision. And then once we gauge kind of what their, predetermined or predefined ideas may be about real estate investment, then we might say, okay, I think you'd be more suited towards this, and here's why. And or what is your financial risk exposure? What are you looking to get into? Like, are you willing to buy $1 million property, or are you $5 million property, or are you at the $150,000 mark? And those are just some of the things that we share with those that come into the space and ask, and a lot of times it's something that we can help them with. So that's where the strategist's part comes into it.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about trying to help people find, and you may correct me the way you said this. You dealt with the challenges of trying to find money when you're wanting to kind of get stuff going.
Right.
What were those challenges? What was your biggest obstacle from obtaining?
Yeah, so the system was built around, because when I got started, I was kind of a contractor. I was a carpenter who became a contractor who started to build, homes, single-family homes, and duplex rental properties. Well, the challenge was I'd never done that before. I'd never signed on the dotted line. And so what was catch-22, what was so funny was you'd go in to talk to a lender, and the lender would be like, great, you got good income, great, you got a great credit score, awesome. Have you ever built a house? No, that's why I'm here. Oh, well, if you've never built one, we can't do one for you. I'm like, what? Like, then how do you ever build your first one?
Right.
It was like,
right.
That's confusing to me. Well, you got to get someone else to sign on paper that they're the builder, and then you can get the loan as the borrower, and then that's differentiation enough that the examiners won't worry about it. I'm like, so you want me to go get someone else to lie on paper that they're my builder, yet I'm really going to build it, and then after we do that once or twice, I've got street cred, and then I can do it.
But it almost kind of sounds like if you did that, when you go the second time, you're still not going to be able to say that you've built the house.
Right,
you know what I mean?
So it was a really weird system, and it's there to the financial institution's merit. They have to have rules. They have to have governing protocols, policies, procedures, etc. The rules are mandated by the government if they're FDIC insured, right? It's the policies and procedures that you can manipulate because those are internal. Those are self-imposed. Like, we don't loan money unless you have a score of X. That's not a federal law.
Right.
That's not an FDIC thing. That's their internal procedure and policy. So eventually what I did was I found private equity. I was aligned with an individual that had some cash laying around or was about to be laying around from an investment that was expiring, and basically some T-bills. And when those came due, all that money came back to him, and he had an inclination to kind of follow along with me and do kind of walk the same path, but at the same time was going to fund some projects for us. So I forego dealing with the banks, and I dealt with private equity. And so what happened was we built a project or two, and we split the profits. Unfortunately, the first one we built didn't sell because it was a unique property, a multifamily property, and so I ended up having to buy him out. But borrowing money for that wasn't a problem because I was just buying an asset.
Oh, yeah.
So I had good credit, had good income. I was just buying a rental property.
Right.
So the very first structure that I ever built as a home builder was a duplex rental property. The second one was a single family house. So I've been doing this, for a long time, 20 years.
So I guess is one of the things you look for on this side of things is it you see like a land and you're like, oh, I could build some houses on that.
Oh, for sure.
So I guess a lot of your businesses are, do you manage that property?
So those are great questions. Let me grab the first one and say that as a visionary creative, if I see a raw piece of property, the first thing I'm going through in my mind is what's the highest and best use and what can I put on the property, right? So for someone who is a creative, who understands that and the way we think, I can literally see a finished project in my mind when I look at that blank piece of property that has nothing on it. I can see cars parking in the parking lot, going inside of retail spaces. If it's a residential, I can see kids riding their bikes and playing on the street. I can see the types of homes, how far are they apart, how big are they? I mean, it's just, I can see the logo, the gate, the landscaping. It's just something I've been gifted with. So that is hard to turn off. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's overwhelming, especially when you're getting started and trying to be aggressive and be hungrier than you really had the capacity to do, which was my case. You would have so many things going on and so many different ideas. You really just had to rein that in and get focused. So for me, it was learning the language of lending and learning the language of business in order to execute on the ideals and the aspirations that I had. And there was some really good stuff there early on.
Yeah, no, I mean, because that's kind of where I'm at. I'm seeing so many opportunities, especially like in the downtown area. There's, so many different areas that would be really cool to do. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, okay, where do you really get started? But I feel like for me, it would be kind of that similar thing. Okay, I've got to start small, whether it's like a duplex or, something that's allowing you to get, I want residual income coming in.
Mm-hmm. Everybody does.
Yeah, who doesn't?
So the one thing that I picked up on that you just said, there's a lot of projects and things that pop into your head that would be cool. And I'm not picking on you, but a lot of people think that way. Wouldn't it be cool if we had this? Wouldn't it be cool if we had that? You really have to pay attention to what your market thinks is cool. Because what you and I might think is cool won't sell, won't lease, nobody wants it, And so you've got to be very careful to understand and study your market and play to the market. Don't start out being a revolutionary, like someone who is innovative and doing the brand new thing nobody's seen in the marketplace. I know this because I tried it and it didn't work, right? In my market. This is 2003, 4, and 5. We had several different things going, but one of them was so innovative for our marketplace, it was just like completely rejected. We were like, I don't want to do that. I was like, this is all they do in the Metroplex area. We don't want that here. Okay. Yeah. I lost. But so you think about your market, you study your market, and then you look for value, but you don't look for bargains. Bargains usually denote one of two things. Either A, it's too good to be true, and we all know that adage, it doesn't work. Or it's a bargain for a reason. It may have been on the market too long. It may have some sort of issue. So I look for value. And so when I say that, if I'm buying or acquiring pre-existing structures, I'm looking for things that are well-built, value, that have a long usefulness left in their life, the age of the property, and what do I think I can do with it, either the exact same use or a redevelopment, which means change the use, and what kind of value could I bring to that? And now I'm so well versed in it, and I have so many systems in place to kind of filter that through. I just drop the property in an ideal right here, and it funnels down at the bottom, and it's either a W or an L. It's like a win or a loss. It takes a couple days really on a big property and a few hours on a small one to do that. It's just a series of checks and check boxes and what is this and what is that. But that's what works for me.
Right.
Somebody else drops it in the same funnel through the same filter, totally different answer. So, I've had people tell me, well, how do you do that? What does it look like? And I go, exactly like this. And we might run their scenario and it's completely different.
Right.
It's not about the numbers on some of those things as much as it's about the feasibility and the capacity. Mm-hmm. So the feasibility comes from studying the market. Does the market want it? Does the market need it? That's feasible. Is it feasible to do it? And then
how do you gauge that maybe you're taking something that's a low opportunity now that may, in the future, the market may not see that right now they need it, but by the time you develop it, it's going to grow and become more of an investment?
That's pretty short term. Like I would say inside of 3 years, you should be able to turn a profit. And if not, then you should wait or you shouldn't do it at all, And then we have a lot of different scenarios like where we are, which is not where most people start. We are now selecting projects that will carry us into the coming years, right? So I'm looking at projects that are 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, because those will overlap one another. And as these expire and move out of inventory or move out of the system of hey, we developed it, it's all sold out. Now what do you do? Well, you got to have one behind that, and then you got to have one behind that, and you got to have one behind that. And so not only those, but then the short ones, the 3 and quicker, what we call low hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. What's something we can get in, get on, get done, move out, be done, right? That's a completely different kind of thing because it's not about the long term stacking of projects in order to have something residual long term. It's more about quick kill, in there, out there, grab it and go. Use that revenue for something else. Mm-hmm. Usually,
So it's like you try to make sure that your projects are kind of feeding your next project, so you don't have to go and borrow as much. Correct?
Yeah, borrow as much, or in the future, anything. For some of those, you can stack those in a certain way that they would feed each other to the tune of limiting exposure to the risk of debt service or eliminating it. And so that, for me, that's the goal, eliminating that need and that reliance on the financial institution.
Okay, so Cliff Notes.
Sure.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Find the most value. Mm-hmm. And 3, you just said it, and I was trying to think about 1 and 2.
Those are the things that I like to do. Those quick kills, those low-hanging fruit are good because those give you cash injections in the short term. Now, when I say short term, most people think, a couple of months, I can do a flip. I'm not talking about short term in a couple of months. Mm-hmm. Short term is 3 years. That's short term. Anything inside of 3 years in the real estate business is short term. You're going to go flip some projects, cool, whatever. It's not my bag of tricks. I'm not into that. I don't advise people to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm just over here.
Well, see, I think that's one of my problems. I don't know how to. I've got a shelf that I need to drill into the wall, and I'm over here like, hey, you got any free time, Mr. CEO, to come show me your carpentry skills?
Yeah. Well, what you need is a masonry bit and a hammer drill, and you drill a smaller hole than what you're going to use. You put a filler in there, like a cap or some sort of shim, and then you put your finished screw inside the smaller than it should be hole, and that's what holds it tight, right? Creates friction. So anyway.
Got it.
Yeah, you can handle that.
Yeah.
But on the investing side, like I said, anything inside of 3 years is short term. But if you're thinking that you're going to go out and do something in real estate in 3 to 6 months, I mean, you might do something, but it won't be significant enough to change the trajectory of what you're on right now. It'd be that to me, it'd be that insignificant, Now, if you're going to do it and your margin, your reciprocated margin coming back to you is a couple of grand, and that's game changing for your family or your family tree or whatever you got going on, then it's obviously worth it. If you're a high income earner and you're looking just to not really diversify, but just to have a growing number of assets beyond 401k and that kind of stuff, then real estate is a great place to go. We have a lot of clients that come in and purchase real estate from our real estate company that we represent, or assets that we actually produce that are under $1 million, sometimes under 500,000, and they're doing fine with that. It's limited exposure. It's usually something you can turn pretty quickly if you needed to get out of it. If you wanted to sell something that was $1 million, There's a whole lot less people out there buying $1 million assets. There's a whole lot more buying under 500, under 300 if you can get them. And so that's something that is used as an exit strategy or a security blanket for some of those individuals. But if you're making, we talked about this early on. If you're making $45,000 a year and you want to buy some rental property or have real estate investment, it's difficult. And it's difficult not only to get started, but to really have a return that's worth your time. And when I say that, it's like, well, if $2,000 is going to change, what's happening inside your family dynamic with your budget, well, I can show you a lot of different ways to make $2,000 that doesn't involve buying a piece of real estate and flipping it.
Right.
Right? I mean, you could deliver pizzas, you could get a part-time job, you could, get a career change. So there's other ways to make that limited amount of upside without doing real estate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I guess you had to sum it up in 3 points. It's don't reinvent the wheel, find the most value, and 3, don't be stupid.
Well, I mean, don't be stupid applies to just about everything in life.
Well, yeah, and I just couldn't think of the third one you said, so I'm throwing that in there.
I mean, I think you could wrap it up and say number 3, it should be lower your expectations.
Yeah.
Just lower your expectations. When you set that bar too high by following some of these guys on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, that are talking about what they're talking about, and you get sucked into the vortex of, oh man, it's going to be quick cash, I'm going to make it. Just set your expectations really low, and then you're not disappointed. And just go back to the old wisdom of, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And everything that is a success is work. Bottom line, outside of winning the lottery or some distant relative passing away and leaving you a ton of money, everything is work. So there's no quick, get rich quick thing in the real estate game. And so I just want to tell people to lower their expectations. That would probably be a really good one to adhere to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So I guess it's a lot like if you want to put a tree in your yard, it's kind of hard to just plant a massive pine tree all of a sudden. So you have to kind of plant this little small stick.
Yeah.
And water it and watch it grow. And then after years, you finally have a tree.
Yeah. And that's a great analogy. Let's use the trees for a second, because I'm thinking about that as you're saying that. And, there are species of trees that grow super fast. And they fill out with leaves really quickly. They fill out with limbs, but they don't live as long. Right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking a Bradford pear tree. Lifespan 20-ish years, maybe 25 years, I think is probably the lifespan of a Bradford pear. Put it in the ground, boom, 2 or 3 years, you got a massive tree. Massive in relative terms, but you have a tree, not a twig. But they don't live a long time. However, you have an acorn, drop it in the ground, 12 years later, it's 8 feet tall, maybe 10. But how long does it live? 200 or 300 years if cared for, and not damaged by trees. So longevity over speed.
Right.
Right? Speed kills. And that wasn't a drug reference. But the speed of that growth of that tree, its lifespan's really fast. Think about that with your real estate. If you're into real estate, you want to get into real estate, you want to do that. Think about, growing from an acorn into a mighty oak and not necessarily jumping up like a river birch or a wax myrtle or I'm showing my cards here that I know a little bit about. Would that be botany, I think? Horticulture? Some of those things?
I think so.
I'm not an arborist,
but you do have a tree.
But I am a strategist.
Take a picture of this.
Yeah, the tree. You know what? Somebody commented not too long ago. They wanted to know what the tree back here was. So this tree. So my daughter's 3rd grade class, as a project, took string. One of the fathers of one of the children in the class nailed all the nails on the board. And then the children took string, and everybody got to string a little bit of it. Did your phone die?
Phone died.
Sorry about that. Anyway, so if you're wondering what that is, it's just a little piece of string art. But my daughter's 3rd grade class did that.
Your daughter did that?
My daughter's class, all of the children participated. It was a group project. And what's really cute about it, we bought it at a school auction trying to raise money for some fund or whatever. What's really cute about it is on the back of it, all the students in the class signed it.
That's incredible.
Isn't that
All
neat?
this time, I thought that was like a
super high end work of art.
Yeah.
Yes. No. So many people have asked me, and I'm like, yeah, my daughter's third grade class made that. A little bit of insider info there on Senior Verde.
Stay in art class, kids. You'll get to make trees.
We get to make trees.
That's right. So, I mean, I guess also kind of just jumping off that last point, if you take the acorn, it has a lot of value, and at the same time, it's a low risk. So could you say if something is a fast return, it's too good to be true, but at the same time, it probably has a really high risk.
A lot of high risk. Usually
so if you have a high risk with value, that's not really a good return on investment.
Right.
That was a key term in my real estate finance.
Oh, yeah.
Just showing I'm learning something.
That's right. You are learning something.
So, but yeah, so I think that kind of gives us a little inside look into part of your world.
Yeah.
It's like this massive pizza, and we just talked about the toppings today.
We just talked about the black olives. That was it.
Love olives.
I love olives too, man. That's another example of a tree that takes forever to grow, but man, it yields really good fruit once it does.
It makes it really good.
And what is avocado trees? They take like at least 2 or more years before they yield fruit, I think. Maybe even longer than that. I have no idea. Anyway.
All I can do is think about olives now. We need to do martinis again one day.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to share all this information. You know, just in the few minutes that we've been talking about it, there's so many other thoughts bouncing around my brain because it just goes like this.
Yeah.
And all of those nuanced things, the hacks, whatever you want to call them, that I've learned throughout the years, you know, they're just second nature to me now. And unless somebody says or asks me a pointed question about something, I can't even really explain what I'm doing. But then when the question pops, I know exactly how to answer it, right?
Yeah.
I've had those exchanges with the guys in some instances on those Along for the Ride series on the YouTube channel.
Which now that I have time, I want to go along for the ride.
You want to go along for the ride? Yeah, so I launched a new, just a segue, I launched a new newsletter through the website and been talking about it a little bit here and there, and it's called The Road Report because we're along for the ride,
Yeah.
and I'm taking everybody with me, and so, you know, notes from the road and all that kind of stuff. It's that's something that's pretty cool. So if you're out there and you want to get a weekly newsletter from me with all the good stuff, some insider stuff like that, and then also just some stuff that you won't find really published anywhere else, it'd be cool if you jumped on board.
Sounds good.
Very cool. Well, thanks for doing this again. I hope you learned something.
I did.
And we'll dive deeper as we go forward. I could see this being something that a lot of people are going to question about, maybe comment and engage on. So I'm sure it won't be the last time because it's a real hot button. You know, everybody wants to get in real estate, especially when it's good.
Right.
And I'm not a guru out there trying to sell you an ebook about real estate, but anything that we chatted up here about is free. You know, no big deal. And I give it away.
Yeah,
like
feel free
else.
to send us your questions. The more specific, the better. Just shoot a DM to Senior Verde X.
Yeah.
And if you ask a question about my life, I'll send you my one and only Card 53 shirt.
You're giving away one.
It's the last one I have, but it's fresh off my back.
Fresh off your back. That is awesome.
Just want to see if I have one follower out there who might ask a question.
Man, the T-shirts have been flying out of here too. You know, I made that little freebie offer back a couple episodes. It's like T-shirts going, so it's cool. I think we still have a few left if somebody wants to.
Well, if somebody asks me a question now, you may have to sponsor some shirts.
No worries, we can do that. Well, again, as always, thank you for doing this, and I know it's a time out of your schedule. I think things are going good for you now, so you got some clarity and some freedom.
Yep.
And I appreciate you and appreciate everybody listening, and can't wait till next time. Thanks,
Absolutely.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.